Hi, hello. Welcome to a new week of a TBR Tackle. It is Friday, January 31st. It is the last day of January, but we are starting a new week of TBR Tackle, which is crazy because it's the last day of the month. It's like I don't want to start anything big. I don't want to, anything like that that's going to carry on into Friday or February. I really like to have my months have a clear ending. Look, I want to point out, the clothes have been donated. Most of. There's now a pile of pants. But most of the clothes have been donated, which is awesome. Anyways, I like to start my months with like a clear break in between. And hopefully have no hangovers from month to month. So what am I going to do today? I have an audiobook I'm going to finish. I need to finish up Stay Golden. Stay Golden, Stay Golden, Pony Boy. I keep wanting to say that. It's Stay Awake by Megan Golden. It's fine. I'm going to finish that audiobook. That'll be easy peasy. I've only got about 3 hours left and I work today, so that'll be finished at work. And then I finished the books I was physically reading, so yeah. I might read, I have graphic novels here. I might read one of these. I can finish these in a day. This is The Dangerous Convenience Store Volume 2. And then this is Inside the Mind of Sherlock Holmes, The Case of the Scandalous Ticket, from the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle by Cyril Leron and Benoit Dehaan. This is from my library. I just thought this was gorgeous. Like, the art is stunning. Just absolutely stunning. So I'm going to read, I think I'm going to read one of those tonight because, again, I can read that in one sitting and finish it. And then I don't have to worry about going into February with the current reads. So that's the plan. I did finish All That Is Wicked by Kate Winkler Dawson. I left the book downstairs, but that's okay. I'm giving it a 2. I just found myself not caring anymore. I hit a point where I just was not interested. It felt like we were saying the same thing over and over and over again with just a new scientist. So this was following the serial killer, the killer Edward Rudolph in like the 1800s, and it was told from the perspective of people who like interviewed him. So we had like a reporter who interviewed him, and then we had like a linguist a scholar who came and interviewed him, and then we had like psychiatrists at the time, or like an alienist came, but it just went in circles. It was just the same thing of this man was so intelligent and he was so conniving and he was so manipulative and he was evil, and it was like, okay, I get it. He was a psychopath and he was a bad man and he was shitty and more than likely killed his wife and child and a couple other people and was obsessed with his like theory of language. And okay, so whatever. It just got monotonous, and every time I read it, I fell asleep. So I just couldn't stay awake. It's 2-star. The end. I'll check in when I've finished my other books. And I had to film a February TBR, which is exciting. But I'm gonna go and I will check in soon. Listen, I'm lazy. I don't want to get up, and I'm gonna lay in my bed and do this clip. So this is what you get. Caden might pop in. That's fine. I hope he does. I did in fact finish my audiobook, Stay Awake. I almost did the same damn thing again. I'll pop its cover because I don't think I've ever actually shown it. I did finish it. Originally I gave it a 3.5, but I think I'm going to bump it down to like a 3. It's not in the 2 territory. It's in a 3. And because whilst it was a good thriller and like I enjoyed the premise, right? This woman has like selective amnesia, basically, where it's like every time she falls asleep, when she wakes up, she has kept none of her like current memories. And so in her mind, she is like reset to the last thing that she remembers, which in this case happened over 2 years ago. She has lost all of her memories of the like present 2 years. And that concept is so interesting to me and so intriguing, and I really enjoyed it. However, it hit a point, so like she would fall asleep and then she would wake up and it would repeat. And I did really like that like device, I guess you could say, where she'd wake up and be like, the last thing I remember is being in my office on like a warm summer day and answering the phone saying, hi, this is Liv. And it's like that repeated constantly, and that's totally fine. There were but because of this, right, we are directly inside this character's brain and seeing how she responds every time she wakes up. So in one instance, you know, she's very suspicious and paranoid and like is like, I won't go to the cops, I'm not going to trust anyone, right? And then in a different time, she wakes up and is like, I should go to the police, I should talk to them. And I think that is valid, and that's an accurate depiction of how people do react. And I can sit here and tell you, if I were in her situation, I would directly go to the police. But I don't know that, do I? Say I lost my memory and I wake up and I realize, oh shit, like I'm in a scary situation. Can I trust the police though? Like there is a possibility that there's a part of me that would do that. So it is valid, but it just got to the point where it started to feel plot holey, in that there's this whole like point that it is implied that she started losing her memory living in London, like that she was in London and then she like wanted to come back to the United States. I can't feasibly believe that this character, based off everything we've been told and how she has been written, would successfully get herself from London back to New York City without falling asleep and then like waking up on the plane and being like, what am I doing here? And freaking out. And then also like getting an apartment, and like, because that was part of the thing, is like she had an apartment and she had all of this stuff, but at the same time we're dealing with the fact that every single time she falls asleep, she loses her memory. Like it's completely wiped. And I just am going, there's no way that this actually happened. There is no way that she managed to get herself from London across the world back to the United States. Like and that's I think what ultimately did it for me, was I just couldn't wrap my head around that actually happening. And it just felt too messed up. And then I didn't call like what the ultimate like twist was. And when I did, that also didn't make sense. It didn't line up. It didn't add up, where it was like we were being portrayed that she potentially had like a stalker, and then but like it didn't line up. It didn't make sense. It didn't get wrapped all up in a nice little bow. So I was like, yeah, no, that's not accurate. The other things I finished. Let's sit up for this one. Okay, I'm still slouched, but more up. The Dangerous Convenience Store, book 2. This one, we are in this guy. This is Gunwoo. We are in Gunwoo's like POV for most of the book this time. Instead of in book 1, we were in our little cinnamon roll. Yui Jun. They are South Korean. I'm not quite sure. 1 second. You can come in a moment. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce their names because, again, South Korean. But cinnamon roll, grumpy. We do have some grumpy sunshine. We do have LGBTQ in here. We have an age gap because he is older. He's like supposed to be like in his 30s, and he's like a cute little like 20-something college kid. This time though, we're definitely more like in the perspective of like we are following Gunwoo and how he is like falling. I just flipped to the wrong anyways, like how he is falling for this guy, but he's never been in a like gay relationship. He's never been with a man before. So he's like, why am I obsessed with this kid? Why can I not stop thinking about this kid? I've never done this before. What is going on? And like, they're not in a relationship. They're not committed, but then like he has an opportunity to be with a woman and he doesn't, but like they did kiss. And so he has lipstick on him. And then like our little cinnamon roll boy sees him with the lipstick and he's like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Now he's going to think. Like, he is obsessed with our cinnamon roll. And I do like that. It's very much the like, he fell first, he fell harder kind of thing. But we're still they're not necessarily together, although he did tell him. Gunwoo did tell our cinnamon roll, I'm just going to call him cinnamon roll because I don't want to get his name wrong, that he does like him. That's where this book ends, is that he tells cinnamon roll, hey, I like you. And that was great. I gave it a 4. I'm thinking I might bring it down a little bit, only because, not only, I don't need to qualify, because there is a scene. Okay, I just asked Caden to go downstairs because I would like to talk about sexual content and he does not need to hear that. There is a sexual scene that takes place in this book, of course. I did not like it. It gave me the ick because it felt coerced. I did not like that. I understand that consent can change from moment to moment. It might be a yes and then it turns to a no. It might be a no that turns to a yes. In this book, Cinnamon Roll does not want to do a certain activity because it hurts. And this guy pressures him into agreeing. And I don't like that. Or at least that's what it felt like to me. That Gunwoo was pushing and pushing and pushing for anal intercourse. And our cinnamon roll boy here did not want to do it because it hurts. It was hurting him. And he just was not willing to accept that answer. He does back off, but not enough for me to feel comfortable and to excuse the behavior. It still felt yucky. It still felt icky. And I did not like that. And it did kind of taint the way I felt about him. They tried to explain it as he's just so obsessed and he can't get enough because he can't stop thinking about him. And that they were like, we're going to have sex one more time and then be done with each other. So he was like, I'm going to like fuck him senseless kind of thing. Like, he wants to be done with me, fine. Like, I'll give him a, fuck to remember. But then he became very like pushy, and that's not an excuse. That's not an acceptable reason to push for X just because you want it. So I did struggle with that a lot. I do have the 3rd book on hold. I am going to continue. There are 5 volumes currently available, or volume 5 is going to... Don't. Volume 5, I do not need that out on my channel. Volume 5 is coming out this year. All I know is volume, I think 3 and 4 are still available through my library system. So I have 3 on hold. I don't think 5 is out yet. Look at this little cute. Look at that bean. I love him. So there's that. The other book that I did finish in January was The Dark Lord Clementine, and this is what I want to talk with Kane about, but I'm going to talk about it first because I want him to share his thoughts, and not be clouded by my opinion. So we are following the Dark Lord Clementine, and it's kind of a what if the Dark Lord or the Chosen One was evil kind of situation. So Clementine, dastardly deeds aren't exactly the first things that come to mind when one hears the name Clementine. But as the sole heir of the infamous Dark Lord Elithor, 12-year-old Clementine Morcerus has been groomed since birth to be the worst, evil overlord she can be. Everything changes the day her father is cursed by a mysterious rival. Now Clementine must not only search for a way to break the curse, but also take on the full responsibilities of the Dark Lord. But when it's time for her to perform dastardly deeds against the town people, including her brand new friends, she begins to question her father's code of good and evil. What if the Dark Lord Clementine doesn't want to be a Dark Lord after all? So this book was, I chose it because it had a color in the title. I used Clementine as a color, which is a shade of orange. This book is following Clementine again, Dark Lord in training basically. All her life, she's been raised to be a Dark Lord. Father is incapacitated, and it's kind of up to her to like keep up the Dark Lord name or the Dark Lord business. But of course it goes wonky. She tries to do things her way and becomes conflicted. I read this aloud with Kaden, and we had a blast. We would read it before bed, about a chapter a day. We just took our time, read it throughout the entire month of January. It was great. I had a lot of fun with it. I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4.5. It's not a 5 just because I know it's not going to be one that like I'm ever going to pick up and like rave about or like reread, or like it's not going to be in my like favorites of the year. But this was a great book to start off the year for Kaden and I. Like this was such a fun book for he and I to read. So this was a 4.5 for me. I'm going to get him up here and ask him to tell you what he thought of this book. Because, yes. While we wait for him to come up here, I will say, so for January, I read a total of 15 books, which is crazy. I will insert my little like graphic that shows everything here, and my breakdown of... I do have on my Instagram, which is the same thing here as Emily A to Z. I have more of a like the breakdown like graphic of it from that the Story Graph creates. So those are available. If you are interested in that, it, you know, it goes over length, and it provides like stats that someone like me really, really enjoys. So if you want to check that out, I will link my Instagram down below. But K-Dog, not this book. We're not talking about this.
I know.
We are talking about the Dark Lord Clementine. I have already shared my thoughts. I didn't want to sway you by sharing with you. Tell them, since we read this together, what did you think of the Dark Lord Clementine?
It was really good. I really like the magic fantasy and how she does all this cool stuff to save her father from the Widow Witch and her curse. And how she went from trying to be the best Dark Lord, and then she went to wanting to not be the Dark Lord. And that was really cool how she chose to save the villagers over her father. She chose to save the villagers instead of bringing herself back to life for her one wish.
You're getting a little spoilery, but that's okay. You really liked her character development is what I'm hearing. You liked how she like changed over the course of the novel is what, would you say that's okay? That's cool. I like that too. But you also liked the magic and like the fantasy. Cool. What would you rate it out of like 1 to 5 stars? Like 5 being it's the best, I love it, it'll be like a favorite of the year, to 1 being like I hated it, don't ever show me this book again, get rid of it.
Probably. It's definitely at least a 4, but I gotta say a 5.
Okay. That's really cool. I gave it a 4.5. I was like, I'm gonna let you come up with a rating before I tell you what I gave it. Because I was kind of the same thing where it's like, I really, really enjoyed it, but it's not necessarily going to be a favorite for me of the year. But for you, I could see it being...
It was definitely a favorite for me.
Well, the good news is, since you loved it so much, this is now yours. And will belong to you and go in your room and your bookshelf, and you can read it anytime you want. Do you want to share what you're currently reading, what you just started?
Oh yeah, I'm reading Ranger's Apprentice. This is the first book out of 11.
What is it? The Ruins of Gorlin by John Flanagan. So yes, our friend has the entire series and is letting Caden borrow.
They're missing number 2 though. So.
But is letting us borrow the entire series so that Caden can read them, which is really nice of them. So, well, thank you. That's all I needed from you. I will be down in a minute. I'm going to wrap this up. Okay? Thank you. I will see you in a bit.
Bye.
I think that pretty much wraps up January. The only other thing then is the books I did start. So this past weekend was also my birthday. Wow, I am 31 now, which is fine. Like, I don't know. It's just a number. But we did hang out. I will like show pictures and clips as I'm talking. But we rented a little like Verbo with our friends, the ones that gave Caden the books. We rented a little Verbo near a like ski resort, and the boys went snowboarding. I was supposed to take ski lessons. However, I did not do well. I made it about 30 minutes into our group lesson and I started to panic. So I was done. Called my husband and he came and got me, and I was just done for the day. And that is okay. I learned that skiing is not for me. I think a large part of it had to do with the fact that it was a group lesson and there were diverse ages there and like skill level, and 2 instructors for this entire group of people, and it was just not enough one-on-one instruction, and I was not in control of my body. I was struggling. I couldn't master basic skills like stopping or just moving in the skis, and it was like, this is how we stop, and I couldn't figure that out. And then they're like, now we're gonna go down a hill, and I just panicked. It was like, no, I can't stop, and you now want me to go down? No, absolutely not. And it freaked me out. I had already fallen, couldn't get back up, right? Like, it just was not worth it. So I was done, and that is okay. They had a great rest of the time. The rest of them were snowboarding. It was perfectly fine. I enjoyed myself. We went to the Airbnb. It was a cute little townhome. So we took like the bottom floor. They took the upstairs. We took the bottom because we had Caden with us as well, and it had the extra space for him to sleep. And we hung out, and we cooked and we played games, and we had such a great time. And then the next day we went on a goat hike, which you've heard of goat yoga, I assume. A goat hike. It was so much fun. I have so many photos and videos. I will just be popping those up as I'm talking about this, where you basically go and you go on about like a 1 mile hike. It takes about an hour because you're not hiking the entire time. It's more of a stroll, but there's just this like farm property that they own, and you walk along, and the goats just go with you. They open the pens and the goats are just out and about with you, and they do their thing and they walk among you, and you can pet them, you can feed them, and they just kind of graze and walk, and they're with you, and it is the best. And you walk a little bit and then you kind of stop, and the lady will our tour guide, who like owns the goats and like owns the land, was sharing about the town we were in, and was sharing about the goats and their breeds and like their business and their company and their family, and it was so fun. And Caden had a blast. I had a blast. Our friends had a blast. It was just a great experience. Like, you just are with these goats, and like we got pictures, and it was the best. If you ever come across something like that, I highly recommend doing it. Caden was like 10 out of 10, would do again. This is the best thing ever, like better than snowboarding. It was so much fun. So that was my birthday. I did not read, so I broke my reading streak, and again, completely fine. I read every single day in January. I did not read the first 2 days in February because we were doing like birthday stuff. I brought books, did not read, and that's fine, because we were either playing games in the evening or like doing stuff, and worth it. I did start, they're downstairs, but I did start Gone Girl. I'm not very far into it, and I also started a couple things. I started Gone Girl, I started Forgotten Bones. I have a little clip of me starting that. And I started Bathhouse. So I started Bathhouse as an audiobook. I'm listening to it at work. And that is following Oliver, who decides he's going to go to like a bathhouse and potentially cheat on his partner. And bad things happen. He is attacked. And it then sets off this chain reaction where he is strangled, so he has bruises, things happen. He doesn't want his partner to know what he was doing, so then he starts this elaborate lie and has to like cover his butt, right? I'm about a quarter of the way through. And then I will probably finish it, but not by this video, because I'm going to wrap this up. And so then, but he has to like, he's lying and he's getting in deeper and deeper and deeper. And so then I'm sure as this goes on, bad things are going to happen as he continues to lie to try and like save his ass. But then he also wants to like find the person who did this or stop them, whatever. Forgotten Bones, I have as a digital book. I'm reading it on my tablet, the Kindle app, because it's an Amazon tablet. That is really handy to take because my son has sports practices, and at some of his sports practices, parents aren't allowed inside, so I just have to stay in my car. And it's one of those where it's like, it's just far enough where I can't go home, because then I would have to just turn around and go back, and I'm not going to do that. So I go and I just stay in my car, but it's dark because winter, so it's on my tablet, which means I can read it easily. I don't have to bring an extra light or try and park under a light or whatever. It's fine. And then how far am I into that? I don't know. Chapter 16, 17? It's pretty interesting so far. We are following a detective, and she's kind of like, she's a detective on a small force, and they happen to find like a decades old body of a child, and then it just becomes this deeper investigation of like, who is this kid? He's obviously been dead since like the 60s. Where did he come from? There's a bad guy on the loose that they suspect had something to do with it. Like he was out on parole and now he's just gone. La 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 la. And then we also then jump to, what's his name? Professor Evans? I know that's his last name. And he is a schizophrenic professor teaching at a small like community college in this town as well. And, you know, he's got a tragic backstory of why he was in like Pennsylvania or whatever, and now he's in California, and he is starting to have some kind of like issues or like hallucinations, and he is chalking it up to his schizophrenia, but potentially it's going to have a connection to this case. So there's that. And then Gone Girl, I don't even know how to explain Gone Girl. We're following Nick and Amy. They are a husband and wife. And Nick's Amy like goes missing one day. And it's now this like search to figure out what happened and like what led up to this point. So it's like, it'll have chapters from Nick and it'll say like the day of. And then it'll like the next chapter or so, then we'll say like Amy, and it'll be her diary entries. And those are like in the past. So we're getting Amy's diary entries and Nick's present day. Yes. So I'm not sure how I felt about it. I'm only about an hour in. And honestly, I'm a little bored. I started it Monday at one of my son's sports practices, read for about an hour, and was just kind of like, okay, it's very slow. It is very slow. And then because it was kind of slow, I was like, whatever, I didn't want to read it again the next day. Other sports practice at night, so I brought my tablet anyways. And it's kind of nice having like yes, there are a bunch of thrillers. Like, I guess I'm in my thriller era, whatever. It's kind of nice having, even though they're all thrillers, having kind of like distinct storylines, because Bathhouse is its one own thing and it's like crazy, right? To me, that's like at its max. Like everyone's lying. We are taking it to the extreme, trying to save our asses. We've got this middle ground, like police procedural. We're following a detective as she is trying to solve like this cold case. And then this like side character who has his own demons he's fighting. And then we have this, and that's kind of like mid-pace. And then like Gone Girl is so slow, and I'm still not quite sure where it's going or like what the point of it is, other than like Nick has already said like, I'm a liar and I've lied to the police. So it's implied that he could be lying to us as well. He's an unreliable narrator, but I don't know if we can trust Amy's either. Like Amy's diary entries, I don't know if she's a reliable narrator, but it's very slow. So it's kind of nice having like all three as options for me, where I spent like a day reading Gone Girl and then was like, I need a break because it's so slow. And then started the other one and then like kind of like doing every other. And then I listened to that at work and then I'm done with it. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling. I'm going to wrap this up. That's where I'm at with this TBR tackle. We're just going to be done here so I can go fluff off and read. When you see me again, hopefully I'll have finished something in February. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much. Sorry for this like shaky camera because I was being lazy and didn't want to prop it up. Thank you. I'll see you all very, very soon. Be easy with your hearts.